Good morning, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. Most mornings I have 5-10 minutes at least to just sit here and kill time. Not this morning. It was like the last second here to get this one ready. And I also realized I forgot to add something to my list here. I have a list that I try to go through so I don't forget stuff, and I still forget stuff every day. Never fails. And one of those things I forgot to mention yesterday was that I was going to take Sadie on a big adventure. Well, we did do it. We did do our big adventure yesterday, and I have video evidence of it, and you'll get to see that here at the end. We'll show you the video clip of that. I think you'll enjoy it. Let's see. The thing I didn't put on my list this morning that I want to be sure to cover is I got a gift here. And I need this paper to remember who the gift is from because I can't keep that straight. You know me. Let's see. It's here somewhere. Okay, here it is. It says from Steph and Jean. That's the only names I have here. But it's a book on rural roots of bluegrass, songs, stories, and history. Wayne Erbson. Looks like an interesting read. It does have like sheet music in there, or kind of like that, I guess, little excerpts of sheet music. Looks like a pretty interesting book, so I'll be glad to look through that. And I'm not a big reader, I'll be honest with you, so the odds of me reading this are slim to zero, but I'll thumb through it, and if I see things that are interesting, I'll read things like that. That's how I do books. I'm not a reader. I never have been. I mean, back when I was a kid, I tried to get interested in reading, and I could read a few Hardy Boy books and stuff, but boy, I'm telling you, that was about all I could do. I've never been a good reader, and it's one of those deals where it's like work for me. But anyway, I appreciate the book, and I will enjoy looking through it. And there's a lot of photos in there, and I love to look at those old photos and things. So I'll enjoy the heck out of it. Let's see. I got the chainsaw fixed yesterday. Now, if you recall, I put out a video on how to diagnose the main problems with small engines. Now, the main problems with small engines falls into four things. You have to have compression. Compression is the piston compressing the air in the cylinder. If it doesn't compress the air, in other words, if there's a leak, it just blows air out. It doesn't compress it. So you have to have compression. So I showed you how to test for that. You have to have spark, which the technical name would be ignition, but spark, meaning that the spark plug has to fire, and it has to fire at the appropriate time. I showed how to test for that a little bit. Now, I didn't go into detail on any of these things. Every one of these things you could go into more detail. And then I said you have to have fuel, and I showed how to test for that, and I showed how to test for air. Well, it turned out that fuel was our problem. Now, does that say instantly problem solved and you're ready to go and ready to start it? No, not in a long shot, but at least it gives you the area to work on. We knew we had a fuel problem. And anyway, so I started investigating what could be the problem getting fuel up to the carburetor. Obviously, the fuel wasn't getting there. And because if you'd spray ether in there, which acts like a temporary fuel, and it's a very combustible fuel, when you spray the ether in there, it fired right up and would run. But as soon as the ether was gone, it dies. So that tells you you're not getting fuel. So I put on a new fuel line. That was the first thing I did. I also, at that time, put a different fuel filter on it after I put the new fuel line on. And I cleaned the carburetor. I did all that because I just felt like it had been sitting a long time. It needed the carburetor cleaned, and I put new diaphragms in it. Well, that amount of work right there got it to run, but it just barely ran. Before that, it wouldn't start at all, unless you used ether, of course. But anyway, that got it to where it would start, but it wouldn't run. It would die. It would just die and die and die. And I kept thinking, what is wrong with this thing? So I put the old fuel filter back on it because the new fuel filter I had was really tiny, the new one. And I thought, well, that looks, maybe that's restricting it, that little tiny filter. So I put the old one, which was much bigger, back on it. Didn't seem to change anything. it ran fine. I mean, it ran as good as it did either way. So either way, that fuel filter did not seem like the problem. And, you know, I cleaned the carburetor yet again, thinking, and took more jets out of it and stuff and cleaned it again, thinking maybe I just didn't get it thoroughly cleaned, you know, that kind of thing. And then Mr. Eddie, my super fan, you know, he made the suggestion that maybe it's the vent, the tank vent. And I said on, I think, the live feed, I said, well, that's a possibility. I hadn't really thought of that. Not even sure how to check that, you know, because I didn't know really where the vent was. But I know it has to have one. You know, chainsaws have, I mean, any engine has to have a vented gas tank, or it makes a suction and the gas can't come out, you know. So he sent me a video on that, and I didn't even look at it, to be honest with you, Eddie. I just Googled it myself because it's easy enough to do, you know. And I watched a couple of videos on people, you know, having problems with their vent. So I thought, well, the easiest way to test it is just to open the gas cap, you know, just that way it's not. And so sure enough, I started and it would run better. It was real obvious that the vent had something to do with it because it ran better. It still didn't run good, ran better. You know, but you could tell it was an obvious improvement. So I thought, well, there's definitely a problem with the vent. So I had to search and try to find where the vent problem was, you know, or where the vent even was on this saw. All the ones online that I saw, their vents were a little different. But anyway, I finally found it. Got the saw right here. And on this particular saw, there's a cap right here. And you take this cap off, and then there's a little tiny hole. And I'm seriously telling you, it's a small hole. It's like a 1/4-inch hole, and it's real deep. It's like this deep down in there before you get to where the vent is. So it's a little tiny hole, and then the vent's all the way down in there. And there's no way to unscrew it or anything. It's just, you can see the end of it, and it's just kind of like a, I don't know, a granular material or something is what it looks like. So then I looked on the inside through the gas can, and I could see where that vent tube came into the tank. So I just pushed it back out, and sure enough, I could push it out through here and got it out. And then I tried to clean that, and I ordered a new one because I know that's what you need to do, is you just get a new one, you know. But I thought temporarily I'm going to see if I can clean this thing. And I tried, unsuccessful. Finally, I just took my air compressor, blew through it, and it blew all of that packing out of there. So now it has no filter or anything. It's just an open tube. So then I thought, well, that won't do. So I found some steel wool and packed that in there like it's packing, see? But I know air will still pass through steel wool. So sure enough, I put it back in there. Definitely ran better. Definitely ran better. Occasionally I could rev it up, but not very often. I kept thinking, what the heck could still be the problem? I mean, it just, you know, it didn't make sense now because I got that fixed and it still wouldn't run right. Well, guess what? Because I had checked that filter, you know, it's all about order of operations. Had I checked the filter now, you know, now I've got all these other problems out, well, then you could see that the filter was the problem. Sure enough. So the filter was letting enough fuel to get through, more fuel going through than the vent was letting go through. But now that the vent's fixed, now the filter's not letting enough fuel for the whole thing to run well. Well, anyway, my bottom line is I put a different filter on it. Bingo, problem solved, ran really good. I also put a new spark plug in there in the middle of it somewhere, just to have a fresh spark plug. Now, this thing is cold turkey. I do not know if it's going to start. I thought it would just be cool to do a live demo. Here's, to prove that it's cold, I'm going to put the, you can probably see the dot there on the muffler, and that's 56 degrees. That's cold. So let's show you what that is in Celsius, 14 degrees Celsius. So it's cold. So let's see if it'll run, if it'll start. I have no idea. If it starts, I'm a hero. If it doesn't start, I'm a zero. I have no idea if this thing's going to start. I truly don't. And it'll probably take 3 or 4 pulls anyway. Well, it's a little cold, but I think it'll work now. It's a little cold-natured, and it might still need a little bit of tweaking on the adjustments, but it's fixed. It's a little cold-natured. Once it warms up, I think it'll run just fine. Anyway, I just thought I'd go through those steps so you kind of have some idea of what you have to do to fix a small engine. Nothing is complicated. It's just you just got to understand what you're doing there. And for instance, I've said many times that it's almost always the simple thing. See, like I could have tore into it and took look in the cylinders and the pistons and all that. Well, that's the complicated stuff. Make sure it's not the simple stuff first. And this is just the simple stuff. That's all it was. It was just simply things were clogged. That's really how simple it was. That thing had been sitting in an attic for years. I mean, probably might even be 10 years. Been up there in the attic for a long time. And that's all that was wrong with it, is just that it was all clogged up. Anyway, there you go. I hope that at least makes a point for some people, especially about the simple problem. It's almost always a simple problem. It's almost never the complicated, heavy-duty problem. I mean, sometimes it is. I mean, you throw a rod in it, it's going to be the complicated, heavy-duty problem. But you know what I'm saying. It almost always, when you have a problem where something won't work, it's usually something simple. Car won't start, just make sure your battery cables are tight. Stuff like that. Okay, I said I would do some more with Don Brown. I've got a couple of his tunes here. I'm going to let you hear them both. I'll give you a little bit of a setup. Both of these were really scratchy, and I cleaned them up, and they're not too bad now. This first one was recorded live at the Ethical Society in Clayton, Missouri. And there's a real brief introduction, and that was given by Ray Hicks, who was a DJ. And the song is called John Henry. So here you go.
Make welcome Don Brown and the Ozark Mountain Trio. How about it?
such a steel driving man, Lord, Lord, not such a steel driving man. Thank you.
Well, that, was pretty fast, and that could be a problem with turntable speeds and things like that. It's possible that was slightly sped up. You heard a little bit of a gap in there, and it's just not perfect, but it's as good as I've got. And anyway, you can tell they were right on top of it. The people on that recording were, of course, Don Brown on the mandolin and doing the lead singing. Bobby Puckett was the fiddle player. He was a very fine fiddle player. Cecil Blankenship was on the bass. Herman Beck was on the banjo, and Ray Gore was on the guitar. And Ray, he might have passed away recently, but he was one of the last ones still living. I haven't heard if I don't know. I just don't know. I seem to remember he might have passed away. I can't remember. But anyway, that was John Henry. Now, that's a whole album, and it was all recorded live at that Ethical Society thing. Here's a song that I believe, now I'm not I'm going back on memory, guys, so I don't say that I'm saying this black and white. I believe that this was written, I know it was written by Damon Black, but I believe it was written specifically for Don Brown. And it's a very popular bluegrass song that lots of people have recorded, and I'm pretty sure this was written by Damon Black and given to Don as a first option. And Don did a wonderful job on this song, and I've never heard anybody else ever do this song this way, and to me this set the standard for the song. So I'm biased obviously, but I hope you enjoy Don's version of Tall Pines.
Tall pines, tall pines. Once in my youth I stood on this mountain and planted some pines in the sand. Every day I looked their way, but just couldn't understand why they never grew like I thought they should do. I just couldn't understand why. Now I've rambled this on some wide world through, and today I was just passing by. All pines, all pines, reaching up for the clouds. All pines, all pines, I bet you wouldn't know me now. Forget the morning I left, the hum of the bees in the hay. The farther I walk, the harder they talk, how silent it seems here today. There's that old rail fence that we laid inch by inch, surrounding the old family grave. And there's one less stone standing all alone, that's waiting to join us in the shade. All pines, all pines, reaching up for the clouds. All pines, all pines, I've come home to sleep beneath your brow.
I'm not positive who all the musicians are on that recording, but I believe they were the same ones. The banjo player would probably be the only one there that I'm not positive if it was the same one, but I kind of think it was. Anyway, you could tell there that they had a really nice version of that song, and I've never heard anyone else kick it off that way as a acapella kick off their Tall Pines. Most everyone else just plays it and sings it, and I just thought that was a pretty unique version of the song. And being that I believe, and I'm not saying for sure, but I believe that was the first time that song was done. I don't know any of that 100%, so just so you know. Anyway, that's the end of that part. I told you that I took, just making sure I didn't forget something else. I'm looking at everything. I told you I took Sadie on an adventure yesterday. Well, here's the adventure. Well, my friends, we are back here in the midway of the property, and we're looking for a deer antler shed. My son JR said there was one near this gate that you can see there, and I brought Sadie here to see if we can find this deer antler. Now, she doesn't know to find deer antler yet. We're in the very early stages. I've been tossing a deer antler for her to retrieve, and she's doing a good job with that. But other than that, she really doesn't have a clue what we're doing. So my point is, I'm hoping that she can find this antler and recognize that it's something we can play with. And maybe she will, maybe she won't. We'll just see how it goes. So let's go. Come on, Sadie, hunt them up, baby. Come on, hunt them up. Let's hunt them up. Hunt them up. Hunt them up. Get them out there. See if you can find it. Come on. Get out there. I have no idea where this is at. JR didn't tell me, other than he said it was close to this gate and we're supposed to find it. So he said he didn't touch it, so it shouldn't have any human sin on it. I'm just hoping she'll find it and recognize it, or I hope I see it and can get her close to it and then see what she does. That's the whole idea here. So this may turn out to be a total flop for a video, but you just never know. I'm hoping we'll see it around here somewhere. He said it was by this gate. Now, I don't know what that means. Is that real close to the gate, or, 50 yards from the gate? Well, I don't see it yet. Of course, the snow on the ground isn't going to make it easy. There was no snow on the ground when he called me yesterday, but I couldn't get back here yesterday. I'm looking for it, but I don't see it. At the moment, I don't see it laying here. He said it was a pretty big one, so you would think you'd see it something. You'd see some shape laying around here somewhere. Then again, maybe it's down in this creek. He didn't say. You could think he would tell you that if it was down in the creek, but he didn't. So I probably tripped over it and didn't see it yet. There's the creek. I will turn this back on once I locate this deer antler. Plus my hand's freezing holding the phone, so I'm going to get my hand warmed up. Well, my friends, I've located the antler. I see it laying out in the field here. Can you see it? Let's move on up closer and let's see if Sadie runs into it by accident. She's headed right for it. Well, no, now she's not. Sadie. Sadie. I'm going to get on the other side of the antler here and see if she'll come through and pick it up. Sadie, come on. Come on. Come here. Come here. Whoops. Whoa, she tripped over it. Here, Sadie, pick it up. Here, Sadie, pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. Bring it here. Bring it here. Bring it here. Pick it up. Pick it up. Bring it here. Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. Bring it here. Yeah. Yeah. Get it. Get it. Pick it up. Pick it up. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Bring it here. Bring it here. Bring it here, girl. Bring it here. Bring it here. Come here. Bring it here. Bring it here. Bring it here. Come on. Come on, Sadie. Bring it here. Come on, Sadie. Bring it here. Come on. Come on, girl. Pick it up. Pick it up. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Bring it here. Bring it here. Pick it up. Bring it here. Come on. Pick it up. Bring it here. Come on. Good girl. Pick it up. Bring it here. Come on. Bring it here. Come on. This is the patience you have to have. Come on, girl, pick it up. Pick it up, bring it here. Bring it here. Come on. Bring it here. Yeah, good girl. Pick it up. Sadie. Hey, you lost interest. Pick it up. Hey, Sadie. Oh, got it. I thought we had something there for a second. Well, that's the very first encounter she's had with a deer antler laying out in the field. Let's see. Sadie, come here. Come here. Looky. Come here. Here. Sadie. Pick it up. Pick it up. Bring it here. Not yet. What'd you find? Something dead? She probably did. Probably found a mouse or something. No, a piece of bone. She found a piece of bone. Wouldn't you know? Wouldn't you know? To distract her from this, we find a piece of bone laying out here. Here, Sadie. Whew. Pick it up. She likes her bone better. It's just my luck. You talking about the rose of luck. Of all things to find would be a piece of bone out here. Now she won't let me have it either because she knows I want to take it away from her. Oh, never fails. Well, we tried. That's about as good as it's going to get today. Like I said, the rose of luck isn't necessarily always just like terrible luck. It's just like if it can, it will. And sure enough, she found a distraction there when we're trying to work on that. And here's the antler that we got. It's pretty big, pretty good size. And some of you might say, well, that's too big for her to pick up, but it's not. They're not very heavy, and she could have picked it up, or at least made an effort. And she didn't really make any effort to try to drag it to me or pull it toward me or anything. So even if I'd have seen that as much as an effort, I would have, been really rewarding her for that too. But anyway, we'll work with this. I take antlers like this, and I'll as the training progresses, and we're not really even there yet. But I'll lay several of these out in the field after she's really good at retrieving these things, and I'll lay them out in the field, and we'll just walk around and have her discover them and have her bring them to me. That kind of thing. That's how it'll progress like that down the road. But we tried. Ask a favor here. If somebody could go out there and just look at my website and the products I use page and see if you can see pictures and things, because yesterday, and I haven't had time to look at it or try to figure it out, when I went out there on my computer, and sometimes it'll vary from one computer to another, I couldn't see any pictures on anything. So, and I used 2 different browsers, and it looked like it's all blown up and it's not working now. So could somebody, while we're talking here, just go ahead and check it and let me know in the comments. I'll start at the top of the comments here. Dave Hunt was the first one before we went live. Then we had Rob Wintler and Carolyn Fike. And then let's see, Chuck Heidbreder from St. James. I'm looking to see if there's any comments here to read. Yeah, Chuck says, today would be a good day to cut extra wood. Yeah, because I know there's supposedly, according to my wife, some kind of storm coming in. I don't care about them. I really don't. Even if it snows 2 feet deep, if I need wood, I'll go get wood. I got the Bobcat. I've got tractors. I'll get it one way or the other. I'm not too worried about it. And, a lot of people, that would just be such a hassle to go out in that snow and work. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't care. It doesn't really matter at all. I'd prefer not to have the snow to wade through to do it, but it's not that big a deal if I have to. I'll get it one way or the other. Now, fortunately, JR's already got a bunch of it cut up down there, and that chainsaw that I demonstrated is JR's chainsaw, so it'll be his to use also. So he'll have a backup saw now. Anyway, moving on down, I'm just going to skip down to after we went live. We had Luke If is the first one. Luke If from Europe, he says. Bill Mumbo, I know he's from England, I think. He says he's back like a bad penny. And we've got Bob there from Newfoundland, Canada. And Kathy Volts. from Florida. Let's move on down and see if I see any questions or comments. Dan Lancy says, you have to have exhaust. Clogged muffler happens a lot on two-strokes. Yeah, clogged muffler. I did check for that too. I didn't mention it, but yeah, I had checked for that also. And in fact, I had taken the muffler completely off to inspect the cylinder in there. You can, when you take the muffler off of a chainsaw, you can see inside the cylinder. And anyway, I had already done all that, and I knew the muffler was not a problem. Christia Thomason, don't they say never work with children, animals, or chainsaws? Yeah, and unfortunately, I seem to work with all those. Of course, Cash isn't coming right now, but he has been coming. So, yeah, I seem to get all those all the time. But they say don't ever follow a child on stage, boy, that's for sure. And like in a jam or whatever, after Cash does one, I always make somebody else do one. Ronald Todd, now you got JR's saw fixed. He owes you some firewood. Yeah, he's already cut a bunch of it down there, and I can go down and pick it up with my tractor and stuff, and I might even go do that today. My big project for today, or at least I'm hoping to start on, is to rebuild my grapple bucket. See, everything's on hold. You think, well, I've abandoned the pond project down there with the water wheel. Well, I haven't. I can't do it because it's a ripple effect. And like the grapple bucket is completely tore up. Well, what's that got to do with that? Well, I've got to pick up logs, put them on the sawmill so I can saw lumber to go down and do that job, And I've got other ways I could get the logs up on the sawmill, but they're a hassle. The grapple bucket just grabs them, sets them up there. It's really easy. But it's in really bad shape. How did it get in bad shape? Well, I tore it all to pieces down there. It was already in bad shape, but I tore it all to pieces at JR's property down there, trying to help him clear some of that ground. Anyway, so I'm going to rebuild it, and build it on a better bucket. The bucket I had built the grapple bucket on originally was already wore out. It was a wore out bucket. It was the only other spare bucket I had at the time, so I put the grapple on there. But now I'm going to take the grapple off of there and put it on a good bucket, and then we'll have a good grapple bucket from now on, I would think. But anyway, that's why it's just a ripple effect. It's just one thing affects something else, And so I've got to get the grapple bucket fixed is a top priority for me. So anyway, that'll be my next project. Plus, I'll probably go down there and get wood too today. Moving on. Jelvis Skid Marks Band. Are you still considering a resonator build? Are your watchers aware of the absolute massive amount of instrument repair content on your channel? Well, I think so. Most of the people, I think, got here through those videos. But if you are new and you're not aware, I do have, I don't know how many thousands of videos I have. I'm going to say it's got to be close to 2,000 total videos out there. Now, they're not all about instruments, but there's close to 2,000 videos out on my channel now. And but a lot of them are. I would say well over 1,000 are on instrument repair and building instruments and things from scratch. So if you're new, check them out because there's a lot of stuff out there. Dottie Hildebrand says it's amazing how you favor him. Yeah, my Uncle Don. Well, I kind of consider him my mentor in the bluegrass arena, and he and I and my dad would go rabbit hunting a lot when I was just a little kid. 10, 12 years old, I think I started rabbit hunting with them. That was their hobby. My dad had raised beagles, and Don had beagles, and they would take them out and run rabbits. And we didn't shoot that many rabbits. They mostly just enjoyed hearing their dogs run and chasing the rabbits and that thing. It was just one of those hobby things that they did. Side note, and I'll tell you the story, and some of you will think I'm making this up, but if I can find the clip, I'm going to show you the clip. I just don't know if I can find it, because that'll prove I'm not making this up. They had a beagle. My dad actually owned the beagle. Her name was Queen, and she could climb trees. And, she would also tree squirrels. So there's a video. It's an old Super 8 home family camera, those old back in the 60s. I'm sure it was in the 60s, where they have a picture of Queen climbed this tree. And I'm seriously telling you, guys, she's way up in this tree. I'm not talking 10, 15, 20 feet. I'm talking 30, 40 feet up in this tree. She's way up in this tree. And Dad was getting worried about her, I think. But anyway, she could climb trees, man. I'm seriously telling you. We've got a video of her up in that tree, and it'll show you how high up she was. But if I can find it, that's just a side note, talking about beagles and things. It was one of those things I remember as a child, and I was there when she climbed the tree. I remember it. Anyway. Let's see. As far as answering your question about building that resonator, I forgot to say that. Yeah, I'd still do plan to do it, but honestly, there's so many projects that's just, whenever I feel like I've caught up with some of the massive projects that I've got going on, then I'll concentrate on that, and it's just going to be a little while. But I will get to it, I'm pretty sure. Once I say I'm going to do something, I generally do it. You just don't have to bug me every 6-8 months about it. Anyway, I'll get to it, I'm sure. Let's see. Wavy gravy. Rats. A church had a... I already read this one earlier while the music was playing. It says, rats. A church had a rat problem. Tried every remedy, but the rats just kept coming back. Finally, the pastor had an idea. He baptized all the rats. Now they only come back at Christmas and Easter. Yeah. Thomas Armstrong. Interesting air vent. A common maintenance issue with Coleman lanterns is the air vent. Spiders, mud dauber, yeah, oh yeah. And had that been setting open with that hole exposed, not covered with that cover, I guarantee you it would have been full of those, I don't know what they are, if they're spiders or wasps. I think they're wasps, and the wasps fill those holes. People call those mud daubers too, but they're a different kind of wasp, and they fill these holes, and they put spiders and things inside these holes, and then they cover it with mud, and then somehow or another, then they can get in there and eat those things out later. It's a food storage for them, and I guarantee you that would have been full had that been, because that's the perfect size hole. But fortunately, it was covered, so it wasn't filled up with mud. Chuck Highbretter, I was around Ray Hicks a lot in the 70s. Interesting person. Yeah, and I never will forget, I did a repair on his guitar, and I can't tell you how many people he said this exact same story to, because I heard him a lot of different times. Whenever I'd be around him and we were at a jam or something, he'd have to tell this little snippet of a story about me repairing his instrument. And that was, he'd always say, boy, he fixed this thing and it plays so easy. He says, I never could make an F chord before. And he'd always say the F chord. He says, I could never make an F chord on this guitar. And now I can just make that F chord no problem since Jerry fixed it, That was Ray Hicks telling that story. Bill Mumbo, Tall Pines, glorious music, Jerry. Used to play John Henry at Folk Clouds. Fabulous. Great. Spike Moto says, I'm looking for a reliable laser thermometer. What brand laser thermometer do you have there? Well, I don't know. It's probably a no brand, if you will. ETEKCITY. I got it. I think I just bought it off of Amazon, I think. It works pretty well, or at least it seems to. I think it works pretty well. Probably could put that on my products I use list, except that it ain't working at all. So, if you, it looks like somebody's made some comments on that down the road here. We'll get to that in a minute. Ray Valdez. Valdovinus. Ray Valdovinus. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But anyway, from California. I don't remember seeing your name before, but glad you're here. Steve Harris. I had a built-in key on a trimmer break off. I had to get another flywheel. It was first one I ever seen. So, in other words, like that flywheel on this chainsaw, which has a built-in key. Yeah. Again, they just keep making stuff so cheap that it costs us money because they save money. Is really what it boils down to. Why that would be cheaper? I guess it's because they cast it all at one casting, and I don't know. It just doesn't make sense, though. They could have cast the groove in there and then just put the key in just like normal, but they don't do that. That way, if this breaks, you got to get a new flywheel. Unless you're a machinist and you can machine your own groove in there, which I would probably do if mine broke. I'd probably machine it and then put a key in there. But anyway, I'm not a full-blown machinist. I'm just a wannabe machinist. Let's see. Christia Thomason. Sadie is growing like a weed. She's going to be a splendid dog. Yeah, she's got all the makings of being a real fine animal. I just need to spend more time with her. Right now is when I need to be spending all the time with her, and I don't know. I got so many things to do. It's just really hard to cut out the time and do it. I try to spend a little bit of time every single day with her, but it's not that much time, honestly. And then Thomas Armstrong, beautiful Sadie, backstory, family history. Just tuned in. What species of trees are native to your farm? Well, the main things are oaks. We have red oak and white oak. And there are many other kinds of oaks here too, like post oak, and I don't know, there's several other kinds, and I'm no expert on all of the different kinds. But oaks are the primary. We are having maples starting to invade, which is kind of an invasive species in this area, really. But we're starting to see some maples. We do have some ash, and most of the ash have died out, but we do have an occasional ash. We have some cherry. Walnut is real common here on this farm specifically, and in Missouri is known for walnut. In fact, a lot of the big gun manufacturers get their walnut from Missouri. I've seen it in videos where they say, yeah, all this walnut comes from Missouri. So walnut is big in Missouri, and we do have a lot of it here. And then, of course, we have the not so great trees. We've got the cedar trees. The eastern red cedar is what I call them. And then we do have a lot of sycamore and other things like that too here. So there's really a wide variety of trees here on the farm. We have the locust, which I'm not crazy about because they have the thorns. But here's a bit of trivia for those of you who don't know. It's a pain, but if you can stand the pain of cutting locust trees for firewood, I guarantee it's your best firewood. There's no better firewood on the planet than locusts. Black locust, or whatever you want to call it here, the ones with the thorns. I did a test a long time ago, and I tried to make it as scientific as I could make it, and I burned all kinds of wood. I bet I burned 8 or 10 different kinds of wood. And black locust was heads and shoulders above the rest. It wasn't even a similar comparison when it came to firewood in terms of the amount of heat that came off of it, in terms of the length of time it burns, the whole thing. Everything about it was black locust, won hands down. And I burned a whole bunch of different kinds. I really did. I had oaks, and I had walnuts and sycamore, and you name it, I pretty much burned it. And anyway, so just so you know. And the other reason, and I saw an article one time, this was a long time ago, don't remember where I saw it, but they said if you had 12 acres of black locust, the thorn locust, if you had 12 acres of it, you couldn't burn, you could, and all you ever did was burn firewood, you would never burn it all up. If you're just one person. They said it grows so fast, that you could never burn 12 acres of locust trees. You'd never get caught up, or, the resource would never expire, I guess is the best way to say it. Let's see. Moving down here, I'm trying to find where I was at. Okay. Chip says there's no pictures on the product page. Nope. And Bill Carter says no pictures. Okay. And Jeff Purist says no pictures. Yeah, bummer, man. I don't know why that happened. I knew there was sporadic problems with different browsers and different computers. There's always been a sporadic problem. But now I think it's messed up, and I don't know why. I didn't do anything to it. Just always something. You think you're done, and you're never done. Got 147 viewers today. I think yesterday was our high for a long time. We had like 190, I think. Charles Sockowitz, greetings from Aruba vacation spot. Were you able to video the brothers build? Scott built, he did that all by himself. He was in here and I was sick. He did video it, and he's supposed to make a video, and he's supposed to give me a copy of it, and then I'll turn it loose on this channel. He's going to start his own channel too, and I said, well, it won't hurt to have it on both channels, and so, in fact, it'll help if I have it here, because there's more people who's going to see it here than on his channel, and anyway, so hopefully we'll get that to you down the road. Let's see. Fred says, that was a good call on your chainsaw. I've also have the same symptoms on two-stroke engines, and in some cases, it's been too much back pressure from the clogged exhaust. Yeah, I know that the clogged exhaust can do that. Charles Salkowitz, could you get your brother to demo how he does those beautiful inlay jobs? Yeah, well, I don't know if I can get him to do that. He's up in the St. Louis area, he's a couple hours away, but it's all done with a laser cutter, and I've shown that on some of my videos. I don't know which ones specifically. Probably on the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human, you'd probably see some of the laser action on that, I would imagine. And if not, on some of the guitars I built before that. I'm sure I showed it somewhere. But it is done with a laser cutter. And I used to, before I got the laser cutter, I did all mine by hand. And they look okay. They look fine. But the laser cutter just speeds it up so much better. And it's really precise. It's really accurate. Bruce Hines, when I have checked lately, your product page was not there. Thought you removed it after you retired. Well, it's there, but it just doesn't have any pictures on it. Simon Jardine, is locust native to America, Jerry? I have Googled it, yet 40 years as a carpenter, I've never heard of it. Yeah, locust is, well, that's the name, the common name. I don't know if they're, what the scientific name is or anything, but there's several different kinds. There's a honey locust, a black locust, and then there's a thornless, what I call thornless honey locust. Now, thornless honey locust, I'm just going to tell you another tip. If you're looking for a great tree to put in your yard, and I'm seriously telling you, this is a great tree to put in your yard. It's called a thornless honey locust. Now, these have these little tiny leaves, but they spread out, and they give you great shade. But they has the little bitty tiny leaves on a long stem, and the leaves come out. It's almost like a fern, and it grows like a weed, and it gets to be a big tree. It'll get real big and really tall, and and spread out the shade. Now it takes it a while to get really big and really tall, but it'll grow several feet a year. I'm going to say 4 or 5 feet per year it'll grow, And the reason I say it's like the best tree for your yard, if you're looking for shade especially, it gives great shade and you never have to rake the leaves. When the leaves fall off, those little tiny leaves, they just disintegrate into the ground. And you don't have to rake them. And it grows like a weed. I mean, like, what else could you want in a tree? So if you've got a new yard and you're looking to put in a great shade tree, I guarantee, and they're beautiful trees too. They're not ugly to look at. They're really nice looking trees. So, and you do want to kind of keep them trimmed up as they first start growing otherwise they could grow a little weird or a little wild. So you want to, prune some of the limbs back when they first start growing. But they're great, great, great shade trees. I mean, I don't think you can beat them. Especially the fact that you don't have to rake the leaves. That's what's really cool about it. Moving on. Let's see. Roy Livingston, good morning from Michigan. What's your opinion on electric vehicles, Jerry? Well, I own one. Actually, mine's a hybrid. It's a electric and gas. And I'm okay with it. I've got to be honest, it's getting old now. I think it's a 2017. I don't know. Could be a 2019. I don't remember. I think it's 2017. But anyway, it's getting older now, and I'm a little bit leery of it because I'm afraid something's going to happen. So far we haven't had problem one with this car. I mean, it's been perfect. Well, let me rephrase that. You know how I always harp about a bad design and poor design? Well, there's two things that are really poor design. It's a RAV4, a Toyota RAV4 hybrid. And the first thing that's just the most horrible design on the planet. And I mean, you couldn't, if you were falling out of an airplane and had to design it before you hit the ground, you could do a better job. And that is putting gas in the thing. You think, huh? How could that be a problem? For over 100 years, we've been pouring gas in cars, right? No problem at all, right? Try to put gas in this sucker. It'll kick off at about, you'll still have like 4 gallons left, empty space I'm talking about. Before it gets, that last 4 gallons, you got to squirt it in the, I mean, like you can barely squeeze the handle to get the gas to go in. Otherwise, it kicks the pump off. The most ridiculous, stupid thing. So they had a recall on that finally, and quote unquote fixed it. Guess what? Now you just have to squirt the last 2 gallons in at a snail's pace. And I'm seriously telling you, it's a snail's pace. Otherwise, you've got 2 gallons, shorter amount of driving time, and if you're getting 35 miles to a gallon, that's 70 miles you don't get on that tank of gas. It's just pitiful. Absolutely pitiful. Just a moron designed it. Just absolutely stupid. And then the other thing that's not nearly as bad as that, but it's not a good design, is the covering that goes over the spare tire. It always falls through. It's a piece of junk. Just ridiculous how they design this stuff these days. I mean, how hard is it to make a decent shelf where the cover won't fall through? They're ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid. Other than those 2 things, that car has been like absolutely perfect. I haven't had a problem one with it at all. 0, none, not any. And yeah. So it's been a really good car, and I'm pretty happy with the hybrid part of it. But I am beginning to worry because it's getting old, and I'm just afraid what's going to happen, So I don't know if I'm going to trade it in and try something else or what. But thanks for putting that on my mind real heavy again today. Let's see. Ben Boyd, can you post the actual URL from a picture from your website here in the comments? That way we can test the actual link. Well, I don't have a way to do that, I don't think. This chat thing is complicated on this end. And I could do it if it wasn't complicated. It'd take me a while to sign in and all that junk here. So I don't post the comments while we're doing this, unfortunately. But I mean, all you got to do is go to the website, rosastringworks.com, and then you click on the products I use tab at the top, and it'll take you right there. If that's what you're asking about, and I think you are. Marigold Tyne, greetings from Sweden. Sadie is a cutie. Thank you for using Swedish Tootsie? Tools. I don't know what that is there. Sorry. TOOLS. And then is that a exclamation point? SE? Don't know what that means. Sorry. Charles Salkowitz, I'll go looking through your videos and also look for laser cutter setup. Thank you. Yeah, sorry. That's the best I got. And there's so many videos, I don't have any way to tell you which video. I just don't. I'd tell you if I knew. I just don't have a way. Foreign correspondent, one of the most stubborn problems I had was a 2-stroke lawnmower. Turns out it has a hidden fuel filter. Yep. That's kind of the way it is on this chainsaw. I mean, you would never know that was a fuel filter had, Eddie not pointed it out, and it just didn't occur to me to check that, but it made sense as soon as Eddie said that. And by the way, Eddie, I owe you something, so send me an email. Do you want a set of strings for like either a guitar or a mandolin? So tell me what you want, a set of strings for a guitar or mandolin, or do you want a CD? And you probably already have my CD, so I doubt you want a CD. But I do also have still a Boers CD, so if you would want that, I'll send you that. So Eddie, put it in the comments. I mean, not in the comments. Send me an email. You know how to do that, I'm sure, because you've sent me a lot of emails. So anyway, just send me an email, what you want, and give me your address, and I'll send you something. I appreciate that, because honestly, it's something that I probably would have got around to thinking about, but honestly, that one was just over my head. I never thought about that one. And it was the real problem. I mean, that was the main problem. It still had other issues, don't get me wrong, but that was the main problem, I think. Anyway, so there you go. Moving on. Backstory family history. We are Steph and Jean. Backstory family history. You're Steph and Jean, the ones that sent me this book. Thank you. Sorry we didn't realize that you're not a book reader. Good to know you will like the old folk. Yeah, I'll definitely look through it. Don't get me wrong. I don't want it to sound like I'm ungrateful. I am not. I do not read, though. I mean, that's just the truth. I have enough trouble just reading this. I've never been diagnosed, but I'd bet $1,000 I've got some kind of a reading disability, because it's been that way since I was a little child. And I mean, I love to have people read stories to me. I mean, I can sit and listen to a audio book or something. I can listen to that, no problem. But I cannot read. My biggest fear in school, and I'm not exaggerating, my biggest fear was the teacher was going to call on me to read something out loud in front of the kids. I hated that. It scared me. I lived in fear of that. And now if she said, Jerry, get up in front of the class and tell them how you build a rabbit trap, I would have loved that. That was not a problem. Doing that is not a problem. But reading was a problem. It's always been that way. But thank you anyway. I mean, I still will enjoy. Definitely, I'll be going through it, and I'll read excerpts all through it. There's no doubt about that. And they also put in their comments here that you might want to award this as a contest prize if you're not into reading. Well, it'll still be in great shape when I'm done, and maybe we will give it away down the road, So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Marigold Time. Husqvarna and Jonsered are towns in Sweden where the factories started. Yeah, cool. I'll be darned. I didn't know that. Learn something every day. And I'm not necessarily just a Husqvarna fan. I like any chainsaw that runs is a good chainsaw. I'm not stuck on one brand or the other. Like, I have a Steel. I have a Husqvarna, and I used to have a bunch. In fact, I've got a bunch of other brands up in the attic. I've got some Home Lights. I've got some Polans or Poolans or however you want to say that, and there's probably other ones up there too. I can't even remember. But I've had a little bit of everything. If it runs and it cuts wood, it's a good chainsaw. That's the way I look at it. It's just like my criteria for what goes in the wood furnace. If it's wood and it fits through the door, that's a good piece of firewood. I don't care what else you want to say about it. If that's good firewood. Foreign correspondent. SE is a Swedish flag, but it won't show the actual flag anymore, just the abbreviation. Oh, okay. Okay. So I guess that's what we were trying to show there at the end there. That's why I couldn't understand what it was, I guess. Well, anyway, I think we're at the end here. And Backstory Family says, you're welcome. Well, thank you again. Guess that's going to be it, guys. Thank you for joining me this morning. We will be back with you tomorrow and hopefully have something else to talk about. We'll see you then.